Chapter 5. Fear and anxiety rip through me like Hurricane Katrina. Knowing I cannot let these feelings destroy me, I gather my composure. A large metal key, a sound that I have become accustomed to, clangs against a dirty door with what appears to be faded blood spatter across the bottom. I see a guard with small brown beady eyes and a baseball cap peering through the small window at me and Kelly. "New guys?" he muffles through the door. "Yeah," Kelly yells back. To myself, I think, "No, asshole, we've been in your unit for years. Of course we're new guys." The guard has a sarcastic smile on his face as he turns the key. "Well, bro, here it all is," Kelly says. My mind regurgitates the words I heard earlier. "All I can tell you, young man, is get a knife." Stab or be stabbed vibrates from my forehead to the back of my head. I grip my mattress tightly as the door swings open. All eyes focused on us, the two new white guys. The din produced by 100 or more men envelops me, swirling through my ears like a windy day. Cigarette smoke dances in my nostrils, although tobacco products are prohibited in the federal prison system. Fluorescent lights pierce my eyes. It takes a moment for my eyes to adjust. Everything seems to be moving in slow motion. The guard rattles off our cell assignments. A group of white convicts approaches. The first guy extends his hand. "They call me Lefty," he says as we shake hands. "Chad," I respond. I notice Lefty has no right arm. Clearly, his name Lefty stems from his missing arm. I want to laugh, but I suppress the urge. "What cell is he going in, CO?" Lefty inquires. 107. "Oh, hold on, CO. Chad, check this out, bro. The cell they're trying to put you in, the kid who lives in there thinks he's black. He runs with the blacks. You're with the whites, right?" Lefty's question is in earnest. "Yeah, man, most definitely," I respond, remembering Kelly's Prison 101 speech. Lefty darts off in the direction of the guard. My ears focus in on his conversation. "This kid ain't going in that cell. We have some open white cells, and we'll find a place for him and let you know where he's going to be living in a minute." "Well, when you get it all figured out, let me know. I'll be in the office, Lefty." The guard with the beady eyes and dirty baseball cap heads towards the office. I stand there in awe. I am not showing it on my face, though. Things slowly sink in. Lefty just told the guard what was going to happen, and the guard had no objection. It is surprising to me that a prisoner can tell a guard what was going to transpire, and that the guard accepted it. It is easy to see that the convicts are calling the shots in this prison. I know full well that such circumstances cannot be good. A group of white convicts surrounds me, pelting me with questions. It reminds me of when I was a small child with a new puppy. It was exciting, something new. For these men, a new inmate is exciting because he brings stories from the streets, stories from other prisons. He brings change to days that always seem the same. Most people have different experiences every day. Prisoners have the same experience every day for years, some forever. The questions come from all directions. "What's your name, bro? Where are you from? How much time you got, bro?" I answer each question in quick succession. "My name is Chad. I'm from New York. I got 40 years on a crack case." The 40-year answer triggers a whistle from a fat white guy they call KY, Lefty's cellmate. "Damn, they ain't playing no games on that crack shit," he says in a Kentucky drawl. Everyone in the group shakes my hand and introduces themselves. Two of the men share the fact that they are serving life sentences, one for murder, the other for a methamphetamine case out of the great state of Texas. The Texas cowboy tells me in his words that he was a junkie, just delivering meth so that he could get high. He was pulled over, and because of 2 prior drug possession charges for small amounts, his new conviction mandated a life sentence. It seems like these guys are embracing me. Perhaps this thing won't be so bad after all. If I really believed that notion, I would only be tricking myself. "Chad, come here for a minute." Lefty calls me to his cell. I stand at the door. When he senses my reluctance to enter the cell, Lefty begins to laugh. "Come in, man. You watch too many fucking prison movies. You're cool, man." I laugh with him. "Yeah, man, you're probably right," I say as I walk into the cell. "Check this out, Chad. We gotta find you a house to live in. You can go in with this kid Eric or with this old man. Mr. Young, we call him." "Well, who do you think is better?" "I don't know, bro. They both have negatives. The kid Eric is a retard who almost stirred up a race riot in here. Mr. Young, he's an older guy stuck in his own ways. He goes to bed early, up at 5 o'clock every morning. It's like living with your old-ass grandfather," Lefty tells me. Hearing the race riot thing helps me make a quick decision, and I tell Lefty that Mr. Young sounds like a much better choice for me. He agrees. I watch him walk towards an old man with white hair. Another guy walks up to me and introduces himself. "Hey kid, I'm Louie from Boston. How are you doing? You like this place yet? It's a shithole. I haven't been here long enough to really answer Louie, so my response is simple. We'll see, huh? Lefty is waving me over. Chad, this is Mr. Young. I reach my hand out. Mr. Young begins to interrogate me. The first question is whether or not I snore. I tell him I don't. He says, well, that's good, because if you did, you'd have to go in there with that old troublemaking Eric. His next question is whether or not I go to bed early. He explains that he cannot have a cellmate that wants to stay up all night. After a few more questions, he finds me suitable. I can live with him. Mr. Young walks me over to the cell I will be sharing with him, as if he does not want some new intruder in there alone. Finally, I am able to put my heavy mattress into a bunk, and I can at least hope for some much-needed rest this evening. My first thoughts are that Mr. Young is very clean. I do a once-over on the cell. It is immaculate. The floor is freshly shined, and it appears to have a new coat of wax. A few makeshift throw rugs cover parts of the floor. Several homemade cardboard shelves are affixed to the walls. A large country cottage calendar hangs on one wall. If there is such a thing as a homely feeling in prison, this cell is such a thing. The country cottage calendar is not something I expected to see in Big Sandy. For a brief moment, it makes me think of my grandmother. I faintly remember her house being decorated with country cottage paraphernalia and knickknacks. Even these brief thoughts of home and good times hurt, so when they show up, I try hard to push them away. My thoughts are interrupted. Mr. Young offers me some soap, a razor, and shampoo. He points at a pair of shower shoes on the floor and tells me I can use them when I shower. If you don't use them, you'll have athlete's foot, and I don't want no one in here with their feet itching. He says this in a southern drawl. I thank Mr. Young for his generosity. I am in need of a shower. As I slip off my prison shoes, Mr. Young interrupts me. Oh no, son. You gotta wear them sneakers to the shower. Put the shower shoes on in the shower. When you get out, dry your feet and put your sneakers back on. Does everyone do that, I ask? Yeah, anything can happen around here, and you'll see that soon. You don't want to be slipping and sliding around here if something happens. I nod in agreement and slide my sneakers back on. Lefty is right behind me as I head to the shower. Hey, Chad, I'm going to stand point for you, man, Lefty says. What? Look, man, anything can happen here at the drop of a hat. Being in the shower, naked, is a vulnerable position. So what we do is when we shower, we take a white dude with us to stand outside the shower. We get each other's backs around here. We always keep a knife on us. Man, this prison shit is crazy, I reply, thinking about the knife thing again. Crazy and dangerous, bro. Go ahead, shower, I got you. After the shower, I make the rounds. Lefty chaperones me around the housing unit and I meet new convicts. I learn how things are run here at USP Big Sandy. There are many rules and convict codes. The things that register quickly are the consequences. I am told that for certain violations, you could be stabbed, hit in the head with a padlock attached to a belt, or with a pipe. The violations that attract these types of punishments include snitching, selling knives or weapons to other races, and masturbating in the open in front of female staff members. These are called yard violations. Yard violations invite swift consequences. My brain registers each of them swiftly, and I commit to never violating any of the yard rules. Lefty introduces me to Nick, who gives me the rundown on how this place operates. Nick is 25 years old and serving a 13-year sentence for crack cocaine conspiracy in Buffalo, New York. Given Nick is from Buffalo and in my age bracket, I click with him instantly. Being we are from the same area, we are what they call homeboys in prison. Nick offers me some food and a soda. My response is what I learned from prison movies. Man, I'm cool, but thanks anyway. I say this despite that my stomach is rumbling from hunger and too many bologna sandwiches that I could not choke down. Nick laughs at me. Listen, Chad, I know you're hungry after that trip. Screw all them prison stories, dog. Eat. You don't owe me nothing. We're homeboys, man. I laugh and look back. I think about how Nick obviously took the same trip I took, and when he got here, he was likely as hungry as I am. After his speech, with my stomach rumbling and the smell of the burritos, I eagerly accept the food. Me and Nick hang out in the day room and talk for a while. I notice some of the white guys looking at us funny. I mention it to Nick. He tells me the whites do not like him because he is in the black New York car. I don't ask what a car is, but I just think back to just a few hours ago. Lefty intervened when I was assigned to a cell with another white guy who Lefty said thinks he's black. I wonder if it was Nick. Almost on cue, I hear a correctional officer yell, "All right, men, let's go. Night's over. Lock it up, lock it in." There was no time to ask Nick questions, and I'm kind of relieved. I shake his hand and head over to my new cell. I suspect there will be no cockroaches or mice scurrying for cover when the lights come on in the morning. Every night at 9:45 p.m. we are locked in our cells until 5:30 a.m. As I climb into my bed, I think about how my first day in a real federal prison has come to a close. My eyes are heavy, and I imagine the lights will be going out soon as the door is locked. Mr. Young decides to break his number one rule by not going to sleep early. He engages me in conversation. Mr. Young tells me that he is 63 years old and that Big Sandy has been his home for the last 4 years. You know, Chad, he says, in my 63 years of life, I ain't never seen the violence that I have seen in this prison. You been anywhere with vicious violence? Not really, not no prison at least. About a month ago, there was 2 guys beating another fellow with a padlock on a belt outside. The officer in the gun tower fired a shot and hit the guy that was getting beat. What? This wakes me up. How the hell they shoot the guy getting beat? I asked with stunned curiosity. Well, they ain't that smart round here. That's why I ain't been to the yard since. Don't want one of them to shoot me on accident. Mr. Young keeps on rolling. My eyes grow heavier, begging for rest. He fills me in on another assault that happened in the unit I am assigned to, A4, just a few months prior. From what Mr. Young tells me, there was a guy who lived in this unit that was part of a gang called the Dirty White Boys. This gang has a lot of problems with other white prison gangs, and there was a plot to rid Big Sandy of any Dirty White Boy gang members. The morning had begun like any other, but before long, 4 white inmates came into the unit looking for the lone Dirty White Boy. Once he was spotted, a guy from Kentucky who called himself Seven grabbed the Dirty White Boy in a bear hug from behind, while 2 others helped Seven wrestle the guy to the ground. Once on the ground, another guy, Jerry Lee, stabbed the Dirty White Boy numerous times, and once in the eye. The Dirty White Boy was life-flighted out of the prison. Medical staff saved his life, but they were unable to repair his eye. The eye had fallen victim in humanity's hell, USP Big Sandy. Mr. Young's stories do not stop. He tells me about a race riot that broke out between black and white inmates. The white inmates were outnumbered and came out on the bad end of the gruesome assault. Correctional officers stormed the unit firing high-powered beanbag guns that left deep dents in the steel doors. As I am beginning to drift off to sleep, my thoughts are that Mr. Young is a walking USP Big Sandy newspaper. In the old days, he might have been called the town crier. After the long bus ride, I am utterly exhausted. Briefly, I wonder if going into Eric's cell with his stories about Adolf Hitler might have been better. Mr. Young was still going when sleep finally found me. The last thing I remember is fear rippling through my veins like cold ice water. Surviving this barbaric dungeon seems impossible. In my dream, I am falling into a deep, dark abyss. I am screaming, but nothing comes out, and then I wake up sweating, longing for water. My hands go to my eyes to make sure they are still there. The fear prevents me from falling asleep again. Mr. Young's alarm is beeping. He pulls himself up from his bunk. The doors unlock at 5:30. No one sleeps in around here for fear of someone coming into your cell and taking your eyes out while you're in dreamland. The unwritten rule is that no one sleeps unless the doors are locked. Those who do run the risk of death or a vicious assault. Chapter 6. Kelly meets me in the day room. My eyes adjust to the lights as Kelly reaches his hand out. How'd you sleep, man? Not bad, I lie. My night had not been good. How could it have been after all of Mr. Young's stories? The morning has just begun, and I'm already dreading what stories my cellmate will tell me once we are locked in tonight. You hungry, Chad? Starving, I respond. They should be calling Chow any minute, bro. A correctional officer unlocks the door to the unit and calls Chow. I follow behind Kelly and we make our way to the mess hall. The hallway is crowded with what looks like a herd of inmates. People are yelling back and forth as they hurry to breakfast. As we approach the mess hall, Kelly says, "Just follow me." There are 2 doors with 2 serving lines. We fall into the line that the white and Hispanic inmates form. Black inmates form their own line on the other side. All eyes, at least those belonging to the other white inmates, are on us. We pick up empty food trays and slide them on a counter. Different inmates put different food items on each tray. First scrambled eggs, then oatmeal, 2 biscuits, and a heaping scoop of gravy. After eating slop in the county jails and in Youngstown, Ohio, I am a little excited about the food on my tray. The white inmates sit in their own area of the mess hall, as do the black and Hispanic inmates. Both Kelly and I make our way to the white section. An inmate with a fully tattooed face asks, "Who you ride with?" Kelly takes control. In an aggressive voice, he says, "We're independents. Where do we sit?" Tattooed face points to a table at the end of the line. As we sit down, Kelly whispers, "Man, I hate those gang dudes, bro. They think they are tough. They ain't shit for real." I ask Kelly what the hell this car thing means. He explains a car is a group of people that stick together for good and bad. After a long explanation, I conclude a car is nothing but a gang with a more polite name. For example, a car might be a group of inmates from New York. Their leader is someone everyone looks up to. He has the keys. In other words, he's the driver. The whites have a bunch of different sects. Some are white supremacist gangs, some are white guys with no gang affiliation, but there is one supreme leader who has the keys for the yard for all the white inmates. The same goes for the black and Hispanic inmates. In prison politic hierarchy, I am labeled a white independent. I don't belong to a gang or group. For the most part, I am at the low end of the totem pole around here and on my own. Being on your own in prison is not the best choice. When you are by yourself in prison, it is like being a lone zebra near a pride of hungry lions on the African plains. Even on day one, it's easy to see that as a zebra in here, you can easily find yourself in a bad situation. Plus, vultures are lurking all over the place. Once breakfast is over, we head to the prison laundry for our government-issued clothing. The process takes hours. We stand in a line in the hallway. This is nothing like clothes shopping at the local mall, but this is still America. There will be commerce. As I wait in line, various inmate vendors attempt to sell me a variety of products: sneakers, Walkman radios, and cigarettes. One guy offers to sell me heroin. I decline the offers. Laundry issues me 2 pairs of khaki pants, 2 shirts, brown boxer shorts, t-shirts, socks, a Velcro belt, and a pair of new boots, heavy as cinder blocks. After the laundry process, we head to the medical department where a variety of tests are done on me. More questions are asked and answered. Shortly after the medical process is finished, I make my way to the commissary. I buy my own sneakers, some personal clothing, hygiene products, and some food. Big Sandy is like a small town. There's an infirmary as the hospital, a commissary instead of a department store, chapel for a church, exercise yard as a park, gym as a health club, mess hall as a restaurant, correctional officers as their own little police department, and even a jail inside the prison. This jail is called the Special Housing Unit, but there's nothing special about that place. The afternoon will bring a new aspect to my life in this small town. There is no way to avoid the recreation yard. I am told some of my other homeboys want to meet me. Once lunch is over, inmates are permitted to go to the yard. This is not an adventure that I look forward to, but one I must embark on. Chapter 7. Once again, the hallways are alive. Inmates off to work, the education department, chapel, and the yard. I find myself walking through a metal detector that is unplugged. The machine is here to serve a purpose: prevent prisoners from going to the yard with knives or weapons. It quickly becomes clear that the metal detectors are no more than decoration, ornaments dangling from a Christmas tree. There is no correctional officer present to man the machine, even if it were plugged in. The only purpose these things seem to serve is that when important people show up for an inspection, they look good. When I step out of the building, the sun hits my skin for the first time in a long time. My skin glistens, and I inhale the fresh mountain air. The air teeters on the edge of my nose and tickles my lungs. The warm sun and the fresh air feel good and trigger my thoughts. My last day as a free man bangs about in my subconscious mind. I think of it as if it were just yesterday, although it has been years. This is the closest I have been to freedom in 5 years. The thoughts sting, awakening a pain deep inside my heart. The county jails that I have been living in have no outside yard. There was no sun to see or fresh air to breathe, nor any wind to feel. I begin to reflect on my life as I walk through the gauntlet of fences, gun towers, and razor wire. What has my life become? I ask myself as I scan the yard. The yard is not one big yard. Rather, it is one big field separated into 4 areas. Each section is separated by fences, gates, and locks. The tops of the fences are adorned with spirals of gleaming razor ribbon. The main yard has a 1/4-mile track with a makeshift football field that also doubles as a soccer field in the middle. Benches and tables are scattered around the yard. They all belong to different groups, gangs, and cars. This makes finding a place to sit down and enjoy the weather difficult. I survey the rest of the yard. There is a small portion where 2 walls sit on a concrete slab. This is where the inmates play handball. Further down is a volleyball court sitting in its own sand pit. To the right are 2 horseshoe pits. There is another large area that contains a neatly tailored baseball diamond. I feel the wind again as it whips across the fresh-cut grass, the sun dazzling off the blades. Now I know why Kentucky is called the Bluegrass State. A bluish tint dances on the grass as my mind takes me back home. While I gaze at the diamond, I am back in middle school playing second base, waiting for the batter to swing at the ball. I snap myself back to my reality. This is not the place for daydreams. The last yard is behind me. It is made up of basketball courts, tables on the sides. I focus on one area of tables. There's a table with a white sheet tied on top of it. It flaps slightly in the breeze. A precision blackjack replica has been drawn on the sheet. The other sheets are similarly decked out. Hand-drawn carbon copies of poker tables. This looks like they were stripped off a Las Vegas gambling table at Mandalay Bay, but in reality, they are simply prison-made gambling paraphernalia. My moment of peace was broken by a black inmate who introduces himself as Hustle Man. He has a display, different items for sale. There are sneakers, boots, clothes, magazines, artwork, homemade cars that look better than Hallmark, and food items. The crown of this little flea market stand is the sneakers. He strategically placed one sneaker on top of the boxes with the other inside. "You new here, ain't you?" Hustle Man asks. "Just got here yesterday. Where you from?" "New York, upstate, Rochester." "Oh yeah? I'm from Brooklyn, and there are a bunch of homies from New York on this yard. Might be 2 or 3 from Rochester. You running with the white boys, though?" "Yeah, man, you know how that goes." "Shit, that don't mean you can't spend no money with the Hustle Man, though. I got everything for sale. What you need, man?" "I'm good, I just went to Commissary." "Hold up, Rochester. I got something the Commissary ain't got. I got the ladies, my friend." He rifles through a bag and pulls out a stack of over 200 photos. He hands me the stack of photos. I shuffle through them, all attractive women. Some are naked, others have very little clothing on. "I told you, Rochester, I got what the Commissary ain't have." He says this with a sly smile. His entrepreneurship skills are on full display. I am reminded of the hustlers in Manhattan with 3-card Molly and the ball and cup game. This guy strikes me as the guy that runs hustles in New York City when he's not in prison. Hustle Man has me with the photos. It's been a long time since I've seen a naked woman, even if she's only in a photo. "How much for the photos?" I ask. "Naked ladies go for 8 stamps. The other sexy things go for 4. I got a deal for you because you're from Rochester. 2 naked, 2 sexy, 1 book." I look at Hustle Man as if he's speaking a language I do not know, and he senses this. "Ain't no one told you how the money work round here, huh?" "Nah, not really, man." "Boy, you green as a motherfucker, ain't you? Look here, money around here is stamps, postage stamps. Every stamp equals 25 cents. At this, he pulls some stamps out of his pocket to show me. Some of them are very old, others look new. "You got to have spending money on you, Rochester. You wasn't running around broke out there, was you?" "Nah, I wasn't broke." "Okay, how much time you got?" 40 years. "Holy shit, was you killing people or making money?" He laughs. I respond with the usual, crack case. "Man, them white folks ain't playing up there in Rochester. Anyway, with that kind of time, you're gonna have to find you a hustle. It takes money to make money." I hand Hustle Man back his stack of photos and tell him I will get back to him when I get some stamps. Hustle Man hollers at me when I'm about 10 feet away. "Rochester, don't be coming back window shopping my ladies without no money in your pocket. I don't play about my ladies." He says this with a chuckle as I try to distance myself from him. I can't help but laugh to myself as I walk around the track. I haven't seen any violence yet, and this place reminds me of a flea market. People are selling all kinds of things. Tootsie Pops, sodas, deep-fried burritos that they call chimichangas. The changas are stuffed with meat, cheese, onions, peppers, and ramen noodles. Fresh mountain air fills my lungs, and the sun beats on my face. Things that I, like so many, took for granted are now forever precious. In and out and in. I find myself satisfying my lungs with gulps of the fresh air. Prison makes me realize how valuable freedom truly is. The sun seems contaminated by the characters I see in the yard. Some of these men look like they walk straight out of a horror flick. Many of the white inmates are covered in tattoos. Some of them have their faces painted with ink. It's hard to understand why anyone would do this to their face. And now I understand what the lieutenant meant when he told me not to get tattoos on my face. His advice was appreciated, but not needed. Never in 10 lifetimes would I do such a thing. A white inmate introduces himself to me as half dead. The shock on my face must have been evident. The name half dead is because I'm half dead. Life sentence, bro. Half dead comes across as a guy who fears no one and nothing. There's a tattoo across his forehead that reads, White Pride. The rest of his head, neck, and body are tattooed in neo-Nazi sayings. A portrait of Adolf Hitler covers his right side, along with the numbers 14 and 88. I ask half dead, what's the 14 mean? It stands for the 14 most important words to the white race, he tells me. We must secure the existence of our race and a future for white children, he says. How about the 88? I ask, curious. The 88 stands for 88 precepts or ideas for conscious living of the white man. My first thought is Half Dead would have fit in many years ago at the Nazi Party back in Germany in 1933. He likely would have been a good SS soldier under Heinrich Himmler or some other crazed Nazi. My second thought is, this is one of the guys Kelly warned me to stay away from. The numbers 14 and 88 are products of a man named David Lang. Half Dead decides to give me a white history lesson. I listen out of curiosity. I gather from his lecture that Mr. Lang's objective in life was to rob enough armored trucks and banks to fund the purchasing of a substantial amount of land in the northwestern United States. Once the land was purchased, he planned on it becoming a new homeland for the white race. Lang had Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany ambitions. In the end, though, he only succeeded in becoming a federal prisoner and dying in a cell. From what I gather, David Lang has a lot of influence with the white prison gang members. Most of them have a 14 and an 88 tattooed on their bodies. More white inmates are now flocking to the yard, and as the new white guy, everyone wants to meet you. A skinny white guy with long hair walks up to me in Half Dead. The man tells me his name is Dinky, and that he is the shot caller or leader for the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas gang. It is hard for me to imagine this guy as anyone's leader. He looks like a drug addict to me. I keep my thoughts to myself as he asks me questions. He wants to know if any ABT gang members came with me. I tell him I'm not sure. Our conversation is interrupted when a black inmate starts screaming at the top of his lungs while he runs in a circle on the football field. My eyebrows arch up as I zero in on him. You know who I am? Soldier Boy. Any of you fuckers want to get down? Let's go. I'll do it to yo mama and your heroin-ass daddy. What the hell is the matter with that dude? I ask, bewildered. Both Dinky and Half Dead start laughing. Dinky says, that dude is a bug out. A what? He's a bug out. A mental health patient, Half Dead interrupts. We call him Soldier Boy. Dude does this shit all day long, bro. Every day, screaming crazy shit. I see Soldier Boy hitting himself in the head with the palm of his hand. Is he really crazy, I ask? Yeah, something ain't right with that nigger, Dinky says, shaking his head. Half Dead laughs again. It's apparent to me, after only a few minutes of observing Soldier Boy, that he is mentally ill. It does not take long after that for me to realize that a large portion of inmates are mentally ill. The county jails were flooded with them. Some of their symptoms range from the fairly mild, talking to oneself, failing to bathe, to more severe, men who don't know who they are or where they're at. Some who light their own cells on fire, men that are so hurt that they slash their wrist or attempt to hang themselves from cell bars and fixtures. Stress has a way of worsening almost any condition, and prison is incredibly stressful. Many men have broken down for the first time in their lives when they reach prison. Not only does prison make mentally ill people worse, it also has a way of driving people crazy. In Big Sandy, I am sure I will encounter many more men on the brink of being crazy, and others like Soldier Boy, who is already there. The homeboys who sent the message to come outside never showed up. I say my goodbyes to Dinky and Half Dead, and I work my way back to the housing unit. It is nearing 4 o'clock. Each day at 4, we are locked back into our cells for a head count to make sure we are not only still confined in this concrete jungle, but still alive. Once back in the unit, Mr. Young tells me that my homeboys said to come outside after dinner. They've been sidetracked earlier in the day. My afternoon in the yard flew by. The small sense of freedom penetrated my inner soul like a hunter's sharp arrow, piercing a deer in the wild. For the first time in many years, I was able to walk around unchained. Here there are no cuffs on my hands, no shackles biting into my ankles. The feeling of being a chained dog has dissipated to some degree. I rejoice in this new feeling, but the pain still remains. As I look around the cell, I realize this is my new life. The reality of prison hits me like a ton of bricks. This new life reserved behind concrete walls is steel, anger, violence, and most of all, loneliness. Before long, I find myself back on the yard. The atmosphere has changed dramatically since this afternoon. Hundreds of men of all ages and races are milling around the yard. My instincts and my senses are heightened. The possibilities of bad things happening out here are evident. Instantly, I can feel tension. The fresh air that I enjoyed earlier is now contaminated by a pressure that seems to be lurking on the horizon. In the distance, I see a man about 6'1", 250 pounds with long black hair beelining in my direction. Within seconds, he is upon me. As his outstretched hand meets my own, he introduces himself. Adam, you must be Chad. Yeah, Chad, how are you? Good, he responds. You need anything? No, man, I'm all set. Well, we knew a white dude from New York was coming. We saw your name on the bus list with an 055 number, so we were waiting on you, Adam says as he clears his throat. Yeah, well, some people told me you wanted to meet me. They kind of gave me the rundown in this place, I say. Is this your first spot, Adam asks? Yeah, first federal prison. Do you know about paperwork? Did anyone tell you about that? Just a little bit in the county jail. I kind of heard you got to get your transcripts or something, I say. Well, what we do is give you 30 days to get your docket sheet, sentencing transcript, and judgment of commitment, just to make sure you're not a chomo. A what? I respond. A chomo, man. Child molester, or a rat, or snitch. That type of shit. Nah, man, I'm no chomo. And I went to trial and got 40 years. Yeah, we had one of the cops check you out already, but that's just general info on their computers. We just need you to get that paperwork. It's your driver's license around here, Adam goes on. I'll write my lawyer or the court and get it for you, I say. Come on, let's spin the yard so I can introduce you to some of the fellas from New York and Boston, Adam says, and we head to the track. The track is similar to the one from my high school days. While we walk, I notice the sun bouncing off the asphalt, making it look like small diamonds are embedded and glistening there. Adam is waving to a group of 4 or 5 guys, summoning them. One of the guys that Adam introduces me to is a stone-cold drunk. He reeks of booze. Being drunk in here has to be like a freight train on a collision course. As I reach out to shake the drunkard's hand, I hear a guy behind us tell Adam that the Serranos are going to hit one of their guys. They hitting Creeper, he says, and he nods towards the bathroom. My gaze goes from the drunkard to the bathroom area where I can see a bunch of Hispanics milling around one man, who I suppose is Creeper. We all focus our attention on the bathroom area. We see the first punch, a sucker punch, meet its target. It comes from a man about 6'1" who towers over his prey by at least a foot. The victim stumbles back and his long black hair tumbles and waves from the impact. Creeper begins to swing wildly, but 2 more inmates pounce on him like wolves on a small buffalo. Within seconds, Creeper falls to the ground like a limp log felled at the hand of a chainsaw operator. I am stunned, looking on. 2 more Mexican inmates move in and they commence to stabbing their mark with homemade plastic knives. A siren blares over our heads when the first gunshot rings out, startling me. The shotgun blast, a warning shot, echoes through my ears like thunder pounding the side of a mountain in a desolate storm. Creeper seems to be unconscious, but the assault continues. The onslaught of violence reminds me of seeing 2 pit bulls attacking a person on the TV show When Animals Attack. These men, too, are animals. Another gunshot rings out, followed by a concussion grenade fired from the gun tower that is only feet away from the melee. There is a mass confusion now. Prisoners are attempting to flee the area before live rounds are fired. The PA system rings out with instructions. All inmates get on the ground. Shots will be fired. The PA squawks again, in Spanish this time. It sounds like Cuéstese matusos. At least that is what my brain registers as I throw myself to the ground. Looking up from my prone position, I see correctional officers and other staff members running toward the scuffle. More gunshots and the loud siren pierce the air like a broken record, repeating the get on the ground instructions in both English and Spanish. Laying in the dirt, I wish I had a battle helmet on. Adam interrupts my thoughts. Yo, Chad. Welcome to Vietnam, my friend. Shit gets real around here. You have to get used to it, bro. It happens all the time around here, kid. This shit is crazy, I called back. Yeah, but it's always exciting and it passes the time, he says. If this is how they pass time around here, I think to myself, I'm sure to see a lot of despair. I can only pray that I'm not on the receiving end of passing time. After running into harm's way, the officers have quelled the assault. Creeper seems to be awake, but distraught. Blood flows from his face and his dirty white t-shirt is adorned with red circles, where his skin was punctured by the makeshift prison shanks. Those who committed the assault are handcuffed and escorted off the yard. Creeper is not cuffed, but he is led off the recreation yard by an officer who holds Creeper's hands behind his back. My mind dances with the thoughts while Adam talks to me. I hear him, but whatever he is saying does not register. My stomach seems to be twisting and turning like a whirlpool, as I realize that the thought of being shot did not deter these men from continuing their assault. The thought of being shot had no bearing on these deranged men. I cry out silently to God for help. Where am I? Please help me, God. Before long, a voice on the loudspeaker orders us to stand up and to leave the yard when our housing unit is called. The recreation yard is officially closed for the evening, earlier than usual. No complaints from me. As I make my way off the yard, I am sad. I think about how I would rather not smell fresh air, or have the wind beat against my back, or the rays of sun to beat on my face, if it comes at the expense of watching someone be stabbed and brutalized, while bullets whiz through the air. On the way back to the housing unit, Adam tells me that he needs to talk to me some more in the morning. He also mentions that it is something important and that he wants to introduce me to a guy named Dennis from Boston. We say our goodbyes with handshakes. Paying heed to the wearing shoes to the shower instructions, I gather my hygiene products into a heap and beeline to the shower. I'm concentrating on Adam's words, that he has to talk to me about something important. What could be important? The word important sets my mind to juggling, worrying a little bit. Perhaps it is the extreme violence I witnessed that has me on edge. Only time will tell.